tonight.
This president, for the sake of Zion, has not been silent.
The vice president takes center stage at a major Christian event in support of Israel.
This amid protests outside this year's Christians United for Israel summit in Washington.
I had people there that told me the job that they are doing is incredible.
And the president denies reports of deplorable conditions inside detention centers on the U.S. southern border.
And take a journey with us in the search for the Ark of the Covenant, solving a mystery that has captivated the world.
Plus leaks in the White House as flash flooding in the swamp puts Washington underwater.
All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. World leaders scramble after Iran moves one step closer to potentially producing nuclear weapons. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Browder. Vice President Mike Pence warned that America will never allow Iran to have nuclear weapons.
This after news broke that the Iranian regime passed a critical limit on uranium enrichment. As CBN News White House correspondent Ben Kennedy explains, that move violates the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. Ben.
Yeah, John and Jenny, you're right. President Trump first warned Iran that it better be careful. Now the vice president says while the U.S. does not seek war with Iran, it'll not back down.
We've implemented a maximum pressure campaign.
And Iran is using that campaign as the reason for enriching uranium at greater levels. China calls it the root cause of the crisis, combined with the U.S. pulling out of the 2015 agreement.
Now Iran must choose between caring for its people and continuing to fund its proxies who spread violence and terrorism throughout the region and breathe out murderous hatred against Israel.
Pence spoke at the Christians United for Israel summit in D.C., adding that the U.S. is willing to talk to Iran and will also be prepared to protect itself and its allies.
Well, let me be clear. Iran should not confuse American restraint with a lack of American resolve.
Britain warned Iran to stop its uranium enrichment, while Israel is urging world powers to impose more sanctions.
We've implemented the strongest pressure campaign in history against the Iranian regime, and we are not done. We've cut off billions in funds that the Islamic Republic of Iran's leadership would have used for various nefarious purposes, not the least of which would have been their efforts to destroy the state of Israel.
Now, Germany says it is extremely concerned, but stopped short with an immediate response until after an inspection report is released. Then they plan to discuss those findings with Britain, China, France, and even Russia on how to proceed with a nuclear pact. John, Jenna?
All right, thank you, Ben. Well, the Christians United for Israel event today in Washington drew dozens of protesters.
They took aim at the largest Israel lobby group in the United States. Our own David Brody was outside and spoke to some of the protesters today.
Pro-Israel talk inside the convention center. Outside here, a much different story. It's all about Israel, the oppressor, when it comes to these protesters. The progressive pro-Palestinian signs said it all. Boycott until Palestine is free. Christian Zionism equals racism. And one poster even asking the question, what would Jesus do? The answer, according to these folks, free Palestine. It's rhetoric we've heard before, coming from the liberal wing of the Democratic Party. Outside, we ran into Jonathan, a progressive social justice Christian with a unique heritage.
I'm out here as a Palestinian Christian following Jesus. In his first sermon, he talked about bringing freedom to the oppressed, right? Recovery of sight to those that are blind to injustices. And right now, there's a lot of people inside the CUFI event that don't know what's actually going on the ground in Palestine.
The folks inside believe Israel is under attack from all sides. The protesters outside are progressive and see it strictly one way.
We're here to provide sacred witness for the children who have been injured, and that's overwhelmingly Palestinian children.
Israel gets the blame as the oppressor, but what about the Hamas and Hezbollah and some of the other folks on that side about what they're doing?
In situations of oppression, you can always blame the oppressed as well, but I don't find that helpful for bringing justice.
A polar opposite view here on the streets of D.C. compared to what Christians are hearing at the pro-Israel summit inside. For Faith Nation,
no more money for Israel's crimes.
David Brody, CBN News.
Thank you, David. Well, the humanitarian crisis at the southern border is hitting new levels.
And the White House is denying claims of increasingly deplorable conditions inside detention centers. CBN Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson has the latest on the immigration crisis and how it's playing out in Congress. Abby?
That's right, Jenna. The Trump administration is playing defense this week after news reports that paint a horrifying look inside a migrant detention center just outside of El Paso.
I saw visually, I had people there that told me the job that they are doing is incredible.
But this New York Times article provides a much different story, citing unnamed Border Patrol agents that claim they've been ringing the alarms, but no one was listening as they grapple with the stuff of nightmares. They talk of outbreaks of scabies, shingles, and chickenpox spreading among hundreds of children in cramped cells.
Every person should say, look, if they're kids, they haven't committed a crime. Those kids should have sanitation, they should have a hot meal, they should have diapers, they should make sure that they are treated with fairness.
Congressman Ro Khanna tells CBN News he believes there needs to be clear health and nutrition standards at the detention centers.
The issue is not just money. The issue is having basic rules to make sure that those supplies are actually getting to those kids, to make sure that we don't have 100 people in cells and detention centers. They can only accommodate 20 or 30.
Just last week, the Inspector General released photos showing dangerous overcrowding in other detention facilities, urging the Department of Homeland Security to address the situation.
This is an extraordinarily challenging situation. We had an overflow situation with hundreds of children crossing every day.
Acting DHS Secretary Kevin McAleenan told ABC that claims in the New York Times report are unsubstantiated.
So I'm not denying that there are challenging situations at the border. I've been the one talking about it the most. What I can tell you right now is that there's adequate food, water, and that the reason those children were at Clint Station in the first place is so they could have medical consolidated. They had shower facilities for over a year. There's been showers there.
The Clint facility, built in 2013, was never intended to hold more than 100 adult men. It reportedly peaked to holding 700 children in April and 250 just 2 weeks ago. McAleenan acknowledges with over 500,000 people crossing the border since December, they have had a lot of issues, but are hoping they improve now that Congress approved a much-needed spending plan. Back to you, John and Jenna.
Thanks, Abigail. When we come back, new polling shows the president with a record high approval rating. What that could mean in the race for 2020.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern Gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at cbnradio.com.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
No Spur Falls, man. Come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
A bill that would allow abortions at any stage of pregnancy is on track to become law in Vermont under a Republican governor. The bill recognizes reproductive choice as a fundamental right and would, quote, prohibit public entities from interfering with or restricting the right of an individual to terminate the individual's pregnancy. Both Democratic-controlled houses passed the bill. GOP Governor Phil Scott, who supports abortion, might not sign the bill, but his spokesperson says he won't veto it, meaning it will become law after 5 days.
Well, today, Congress took one step closer to gaining access to President Trump's tax returns. With a stroke of a pen, New York Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo signed a bill requiring state officials to release tax returns requested by congressional tax-related committees. In a statement, Cuomo said this bill gives Congress the ability to fulfill its constitutional responsibilities, strengthen our democratic system, and ensure that no one is above the law. President Trump's personal attorney, Jay Sekulow, called the bill, quote, more presidential harassment. The bill passed weeks ago by New York Democrats is seen as a clear shot at the president.
Well, tonight, the president's approval rating is at a record high. The record-setting economy giving President Trump a big boost. The latest polling shows the president with an approval rating among voting-age Americans at 44%, up from 39% in April. The Washington Post ABC News poll shows 53% of voting-age Americans disapprove of the president. The economy is helping President Trump's cause. 51% of Americans approve of the way he's handling the economy. This as 57% of Americans disapprove of the way the president is handling immigration. The poll taken between June 28th and July 1st comes over a year before the general election and a time when nearly 24 Democratic candidates are still in the race for the Democratic nomination.
Well, here with us now is CBN's chief political analyst, David Brody. And David, about this poll, the president's numbers seem to have been stuck for such a long time. This comes as welcome news to him.
For sure, and it's an ABC News Washington Post poll. He doesn't normally do well in those polls, but let's also talk about doing well. 44%. You know, for Trump, I guess that's good, right? So he'll take that. But I thought it was interesting, the poll, 51% approve of his job in the economy, which is good news. Here's the problem. How much is he really going to talk about it on the campaign trail? Boy, if he were laser focused on the economy, I think it would do well for him. But he has even said himself, talking about the economy is boring at a rally, and so I don't think he's going to do it. If he would do it, he'd be a whole lot better off.
You know, President Trump's campaign has raised over $100 million at this point. A lot of these Democratic nominees, though, raising a lot of money as well. Elizabeth Warren, about $19 million. That number out today. She's the third highest among all of the Democrats. David, what do you make of this and her fundraising?
It's extremely impressive. And you mentioned third highest behind Biden and Buttigieg. The difference, though, is that it's very grassroots oriented with her, whereas Biden and Buttigieg, I have to tell you, they're doing big mega fundraisers, Hollywood-type donor fundraisers. Elizabeth Warren says, I'm not doing any of that. And so if you think about it, it's more of a more of an authentic number, a little bit more of a true number as to what the grassroots support is out there for. She's really picked up steam in the last month or so.
David, frontrunner Joe Biden has come out and apologized for his stance on busing after Kamala Harris confronted him on that debate stage. We all saw that. She seemed to benefit in the immediate wake, but now it seems like the pendulum may be shifting.
Yeah, and even Tulsi Gabbard coming out just in the last few hours here today with some concerns about the fact that Harris was trying to paint Biden as a racist. And even though she even said on stage, I don't believe you're racist. But the fact that you have to say, I don't believe you're a racist, but, you know, That's a problem right there. So anyhow, but Harris is coming under some, Biden walked it back and actually apologized. So that was a good move on his part, though it did come about a week later.
Sure.
But Harris even said herself that, remember, she got on Biden's case because she said, or excuse me, Biden's defense was that it was a local, he wanted to leave it up to the local officials. Well, now Harris has come out and pretty much said the same thing, that it should be a local decision. So she's definitely catching some flack. She's got to watch out.
David, so you were at CUFI earlier today. You talked to some people there. CUFI has very, very influential. Talk about the influence they're having on Middle East peace and the policy that's going forward with this administration and President Trump himself.
They have not only a seat at the table, but they have the tier A seat at the table, especially when it comes to evangelicals. Pastor John Hagee leads CUFI, as you guys know, and Pastor Hagee has been in the Oval Office with the president, with Mike Pence, and that's it. Nobody else. So Pastor Hagee has the ear of the president on issues concerning Middle East policy, and also, let's face it, the Bible and prophecy and how John Hagee sees the world. Many evangelical Christians see the world as well. And so that has been instrumental in definitely not only how he sees the world, but Mike Pence sees the world. And that has all been imparted to President Trump.
David, speaking of evangelicals, let's shift a little bit onto the topic of immigration, which is, of course, a big topic. How are evangelicals advising the president on this hot-button, highly charged emotional issue?
This is a tricky one. I mean, we know Pastor Samuel Rodriguez. He's been here on the Faith Nation set. And, he's talked about a comprehensive immigration reform package. This is what he's telling the president. You've got Ralph Reed and Tony Perkins and others that are kind of looking for kind of a balance between law and order and grace, as we've talked about. But let's also remember, evangelical leaders have talked the president into making sure those DACA kids are able to stay here. That's been an important voice in the whole discussion. So they are playing an influential role in all facets of the immigration debate.
David, this weekend, President Trump, he was on Twitter.
He was?
And tweeting about Fox News. This, I think, caught a lot of people off guard. He was tweeting about some program he was watching, but he actually went to the bigger picture as Fox News is a network. What do you make of some of the tweets he put out this weekend?
Donald Trump has always been able to kind of have his finger on the pulse, and I think he has his finger on the pulse on Fox News. I think there's been a shift from Fox News from going from the right to the center right, and I'm talking about more in their mainstream programming, not Sean Hannity and not maybe even Tucker Carlson, but beyond that, they have shifted a little bit more to that moderate position, Shep Smith, as we know. So I think Donald Trump is right on when he has his finger on the pulse of what's been happening at Fox News. And it's not just Donald Trump, but I think a lot of viewers as well have picked it up as well. I think he's simpatico with his base, shockingly.
All right, David Birdie, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, David. Well, coming up, the search for the Ark of the Covenant has captivated the world for generations, but it might be right under our noses. That's next.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Well, the search for the Ark of the Covenant has captured the imagination of movie makers, archaeologists, and even a Queen of England.
Legends have placed the Ark in such faraway places as Turkey, Ethiopia, and even Ireland. But CBN's Chris Mitchell talked with one researcher who believes the Ark might be a lot closer to home than people think.
Researcher and author Harry Moskoff took CBN News through the Western Wall tunnels, up to the ramparts of the Temple Mount, and into the chambers surrounding Judaism's holiest site. His book, The Ark Report, chronicles his two-decade quest to find the legendary icon.
So here we are approaching the three arches.
He says one theory is that it was taken out of the temple and carried to Jericho 18 miles away.
It says in Jeremiah that some of the vessels in the temple were exited, sort of escaped as it were, through this area at the destruction of the first temple.
But Moskoff took us to the spot where he believes the Ark lies.
This particular section of the Western Wall is really fascinating, actually, because this stone is 570 tons.
Moskoff believes a key clue lies behind this giant rock and says high-tech search tools give credence to his theory.
2 years ago, there were tests done by the University of Nebraska, sonar tests, etc., using electromagnetic waves. And they actually found what's called a storage space across from here. So actually, there was a purpose for putting this giant stone, this massive slab, here. One of the reasons, in my opinion, is to protect whatever it is on the other side. And according to my theory of the Ark actually was buried by King Josiah, I think it was 568 BC, in back of these boulders, these massive stones.
In fact, underneath the Temple Mount lie dozens of underground tunnels and chambers.
Back then, 150 years ago, Charles Warren went in, actually did a survey. Nothing's really been done for political purposes, obviously, unfortunately.
Since then,
no one's been allowed to even put a shovel, nothing.
Yeah.
But basically, they were the ones that surveyed the whole area, and they were the ones who picked out the tunnels, etc. Yeah. They couldn't find the Ark, but
maybe it wasn't time. Warren, a British explorer, documented those tunnels at the request of Queen Victoria, just one of many throughout history looking for the Ark.
When people like the Crusaders and the Knights Templar, even the Palestine Exploration Fund, which was originally commissioned by Queen Victoria, came over the centuries to look for the Ark, what they were looking for was a golden box with the staves, but what they really should be looking for is a room. They could have been right up against the wall, and on the other side of the wall is the Ark.
Moskoff says the original Holy of Holies had another chamber directly below it.
Actually, in the blueprint itself of the first temple, a chamber should be built exactly the same, Holy of Holies, exactly the same level of holiness as the one right above it. It was set up right from the beginning to house the Ark, with a golden floor and everything.
That's how Solomon built it, constructed, so the Ark itself could go down.
Right, it could go down.
Do you feel like there's a time when the Ark itself, when the time is right, will be revealed?
I do. Timing is incredibly important, incredibly significant. Obviously, it's a groundbreaking, game-changing, biblical type of discovery. My personal opinion is that when it does happen, it won't be in a clandestine way, where we're sneaking through these tunnels, you know what I mean, and we're bringing it out under cover of darkness. It'll be a great occasion, and it'll help bring the Messiah. It'll be something that all nations will really rejoice in.
Moskoff credits Indiana Jones and the Lost Ark for the renewed interest.
There are some things that got right about the power of the Ark, etc., and its destructive forces shouldn't get in the wrong hands, and it knows where it is, so to speak. It suddenly became a thing. Oh, what is the Ark of the Covenant? What is that? Oh, yeah, it sort of put it into the face of the public, and maybe that was its best success. Yeah. I loved it personally. It's Hollywood.
What do you think is the main takeaway people need to know about the Ark of the Covenant?
It's a real thing, just like it did 2,700 years ago. It still exists today. It's got the broken tablets that Moses crashed down there at Mount Sinai, and the second tablets. It really does exist. We're really going to see it, hopefully, in our lifetime again. It is a catalyst for the Messiah to come.
Until it is revealed, The Ark of the Covenant, built by Moses in the wilderness, will continue to fascinate the world. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Western Wall Tunnels, Jerusalem.
Next, major flash flooding in Washington, including one well-known residence. Next.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he has, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com. Roman soldiers destroy the Second Temple of Jerusalem. Centuries of eyewitnesses say the temple treasures survived. But where are they?
They went from Jerusalem to Rome, Rome to Carthage, Carthage to Byzantium.
Historians are silent about what happened to it next.
This is a bad omen.
Hosted and narrated by Gordon Robertson.
So does it still exist today?
CBN Documentaries presents a story of mystery.
Where is it?
Calamity. Most of the victims were butchered. And destiny.
The possibility to dig is impossible.
Take a journey to find Treasures of the Second Temple, a CBN Documentaries presentation, coming July 8th.
Well, Washington is drying out tonight after heavy rains caused severe flash flooding throughout the capital region and surrounding areas today. Many roads turned into what looked like rivers. Cars stalled out, leaving motorists stranded and in need of being rescued. Even the metro subway system shut down, with makeshift waterfalls inside some of the underground stops. And at the White House, internal leaks, literally, so to speak, flooded parts of the executive mansion's basement. In total, close to 3.5 inches of rain fell at Reagan National Airport, about a month's worth of rain in just a few hours.
And to the West Coast, the worst may be over for the people in Southern California recovering from two massive earthquakes last week. A 7.1 magnitude quake rocked the region Friday night, one of among thousands of aftershocks in the wake of the first earthquake, a 6.4 tremor last Thursday. Experts don't expect anything stronger in the coming days. Friday's quake caught the Los Angeles newscast off guard, if you can take a look at that. And at the Shekinah Worship Center in Lancaster, California, you can see here the earthquake caused the ceiling lights and projection screen to come off at its Friday night's prayer service. These images show cracks forming in the area around the epicenter. The damage estimates total $100 million as of tonight.
Thinking of the folks on the West Coast, hoping that things settle down over there.
Yeah, and here in Washington too, a lot of flooding.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's Faith Nation.
Have a great evening.